This is Brandon Specht
and Marcy Renee, and you're watching
Retro Spectrum.
All right, so it's a little loud out here, but we're excited to have our first visit at Skycraft, which is a Orlando institution. But before we go inside there, we want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing this weekend.
So we are here because we were asked to judge some participants who are doing MAKEATHON 0.0.
The very first one here in Orlando. And what is a MAKEATHON?
So they've got, let's see, Friday night, Saturday, and part of Sunday to create a hands-on game of sorts. And they can use lots of different parts and equipment and mechanics. It's really up to them. It's got to be an interactive game.
So it's a little bit of like some of the game jams we've seen before, but this is a different because it's an actual physical, interactive, just a crazy thing that's going to be built here. And that's one of the reasons why we're at Skycraft. But I do want to say, last night we actually got to go and check out some of the teams as they were finding out what the theme was.
Right, and they got a basket of goodies that they could use or not use for their product. I have glowworms, and this was one of the options that the teams could use for their project.
And we're really kind of spending time all over Orlando. Last night was at Maker Effects. Today, obviously, at Skycraft. Now, what do you know about Skycraft?
So what I did find out is that it's been here for 45 years.
Oh my gosh, that's a very long time.
Right, it's a must-see for any of you tinkerers out there.
Yeah, and I'm told it's kind of like the Toys R Us for just crazy junk.
It's a good way to put it.
Everything you're going to want to find, need, anything you could possibly use for a MAKEATHON is inside that place. So I think we should head across the street and find out what's going on in there. One thing I should say is this place is already super busy. What time is it?
Oh, it's the Saturday morning, about 10 o'clock.
Saturday morning, around 10 o'clock, this place has already got people just swarmed through it.
Everybody's got their weekend projects.
Yeah, it's not just people from our group. Well, and that's funny because it's not weekend projects like we think about going to Lowe's to and doing some gardening. This is like kooky, crazy weekend project, hands-on projects. A lot of tinkering goes on here at Skycraft.
I imagine people come in and don't even know what they're looking for.
I think people end up leaving here with a lot of cool stuff. Oh, hey, speaking of cool stuff, there's Bill.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Marcy made a comment before that this is what happens when Lego kids grow up. Skycraft. Yes. I thought you'd appreciate that comment.
Yeah.
Gosh, there is just so much to see at Skycraft. I've just got to get my bearings.
Not a lot of rhyme or reason why some things show up together, but yeah, tape and lights.
All kinds. I mean, there's so many different things you could use these for.
The zip ties just consistently get larger.
It's a zip tie that is almost as big as I am.
We are at Skycraft Parts and Surplus. So I have been coming here since I was in high school. I think my first time was 11th grade. This place is amazing. They've got all the things that you need for a project and then a whole bunch of stuff you didn't need for that project, but you totally need for a future project. So let's take a look around.
Okay, cool.
So if you need components, this entire wall is nothing but resistors and transistors and capacitors, right? All the raw components you could ever want. They've got it here, which is pretty crazy. You need a small, DJ speaker or an LCD with a camera, you can get it. Panel meters, LEDs. I'm kind of hoping that one of the teams uses a meter for their scoring display, right? Like, wouldn't that be a neat way to show score?
Yeah.
You can output a voltage and have it.
Oh, that's cool.
There, right? So, some stuff's brand new. Like, these are all new, but there's also a lot of reuse here, which I love, right? It keeps it out of the landfill and gives it a new home.
Right.
And then every once in a while, you'll look up and you'll find other stuff you had no idea you needed.
So one of the major things I've noticed is just like, this place is not just about some of the strange things you'll find here, but just the odd decor. The ceiling is covered with not just things you can purchase, but a lot of like oddball collectibles. I've seen boats, I've seen aliens, I've seen lots and lots of missiles.
Yeah.
Lots of missiles. I've even
Space
seen
themed items.
sled, which is a sled. It's not something you commonly see in Florida. This is one massive missile with like a little suit hanging out, flying on top of it, and then all those little parachutes in the background. So, if nothing else, if you don't leave here buying something, you'll see a lot of cool stuff you haven't seen.
Expect that it's going to be an adventure, and you never know what you're going to see hanging from the ceiling or on all of the racks. You have to come in and give yourself time to wander each aisle and look through all these crazy things that they have here.
Do you have any tips for the teams that are digging through and trying to find stuff right now?
The teams, I think the hardest thing in a place like this is to stay focused. If you came in with a good plan,
Even if you're not on a team, it's hard to stay focused.
it's really hard to stay focused. It's like, hey, look, squirrel, hey.
Yeah.
There's stuff, amazing stuff everywhere. So I think it's easy for teams to get distracted and find something that's not necessarily going to help their project.
I think you're right. So, essentially, the teams have how much to spend at
$50
Skycraft?
gift card at Skycraft.
So, $50 to go through Skycraft and find some interesting things to help with their project. So, remind us what the project is again.
So they have to make an interactive game, and they can use a lot of different components. It can be hands-on, it can be electrical, it can be mechanical.
And if you're talking about different components, you're definitely talking about Skycraft, because we've seen the most random stuff here. Obviously a lot of techie stuff, but there's a lot of random stuff here. What are some of the items on your hit list for?
Buttons, switches, like crazy. We've got a number of switches and just a little MP3 audio player to play
Okay.
sound clips
Okay.
that we could trigger from our Arduino.
Any secrets on what you guys are looking for?
We're looking at 12-volt solenoids.
Okay. And what does that do, number one?
It makes the flappy things.
It makes the flappy thing. Oh, perfect. Hold that right up. All right, very good. And any insight for us as to what that's going to do in your project?
It's going to make a paddle.
You guys have any hints on what you're looking for?
We're looking for a DC gearhead motor that goes very slowly.
Okay,
I'm having
okay.
trouble finding one that goes slow enough.
What about solar-powered party?
Paint mixer?
No, it's for a game where they spin out.
Oh, cool.
What's the price on that one?
I don't know. That's what I was looking for.
I think if there's no price, it's free.
That's my rule.
What are the big items you're going to be picking up here at Skycraft?
We're looking at everything, but we're hopefully going to find some really cool buttons. Really fun.
And for you guys, this is like a family thing, right?
It's a family thing, yeah. We're Team Regus, so it's my two kids, Zane and Charlie.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And yeah, so
Is this anyone's first time at Skycraft? Or you guys at all?
all of our first time.
All of your first time. Is it as overwhelming for you as it is for me?
Yes. I want to buy all the things and play with all the things.
But how much do you have to spend?
We got a $50 gift card.
So there's a lot of stuff here. $50 will only go so far.
Yeah.
So stay focused.
All right.
All right. Good luck, team.
Thanks.
Let's just
So
make this
we
happen.
had each team record a video last night to tell us about who they were and what their project is. And the Lynch Lab video killed it. It was almost unanimous. We talked to all the judges, and everybody had it as their favorite video. So a lot of the team's videos were good, but theirs was excellent.
Now the story of a few makers who entered a competition without knowing the details or having ever worked together. Using their unique talents, this group of creatives planned an interactive game, one that is multiplayer, has lots of moving parts, feedback, and thrills.
Now, the fun part is we need to tell them this, but they're somewhere here in Skycraft and we can't quite find them. So let's go find them. Hey, look who we found. How are you all? Great. There's something in my pocket for you. You all won the best video. Congratulations. Gift card for Skycraft, extra $100, which will buy a lot of stuff in this cabinet, or maybe one very expensive thing. So, good job on the video. Loved it. And there you go.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. I would say don't spend it all in one place, but that's actually kind of the object of the game. So. All right, we're excited to see what you built. Get to it.
Thanks.
All right.
You guys have anything in mind for that extra money?
More Arduino.
Yeah.
Arduino components. That's really all we need, I think.
What's on your hit list? What are the things that you're picking up today?
Mostly wheels. That's the most important thing. I've also got some aluminum and brass rod. Not totally sure I'm going to use it. Tape. Can't have enough tape.
Gotcha.
And some clamps because I'm going to be gluing some stuff up.
Wow, completely different than everybody else. That's awesome. Each person had something totally different.
That's awesome.
This is day 3 of the MAKEATHON 0.0. It is now 2 o'clock, so it's been 2 hours since the deadline for being able to work on your projects, meaning all teams were done at 12. And after a few days of some hectic working, I'm excited to see what each team has come up with. And I don't know, it's a tough job today because I've been watching these teams on live stream, on Twitch, on Instagram, on Facebook, showing off what they're working on, and I see how hard everyone's been working. I think we're gonna have a very difficult job trying to decide which team has the best product, the best invention, the best game. What are you looking for today, Marcy?
You know, it's really hard to say because I think each team has something really unique that they're working on. And like you said, I'm really excited to see the final pieces that they've got and how they play and how they interact and how other people are enjoying these games, because the community was invited out to test out these games as well.
Yesterday, we spent some time with our teams over at Skycraft, which is north of the city, and now we're in the heart of Orlando. We're at the Melrose Center at the library, the Orlando City Library, and this is where we're going to start doing some judging.
In the room behind me, the teams are setting up their final project. They're in the countdown time. It is almost time for us judges to go in there, play these games, and find out who comes out number 1.
We're all cast members at Disney, so of course this is going to have a story. And we're in Halloween right now. You might have gone to Mickey's Not So Scary. You might have seen the castle show there. Sadly, Hades isn't the one producing the show. It's the Sanderson sisters. And Hades, he's not cool with that. So Hades has employed Kronk to go on a mission to try and recruit people to come watch and celebrate Hades during the spooky time of year. So Kronk has gone off and created a game to attract people to come play, and that's Battleship. Y'all remember that from our childhood. But Kronk doesn't quite get that the whole story is about Hades and wanting him to be the center of attention, and instead has developed this Battleship game that's supposed to be fun for everyone, where both teams get to play against each other, and they get to play with some of their favorite Disney ships throughout the years. So you might recognize a few. If you're a big Disney fan, there's a couple of them in there that you probably will need to dig back on some Disney knowledge to recognize, that Kronk has amassed over his career. Now the problem is, like I said, Kronk wanted it to be fun and exciting for everyone, so rather than the traditional game of Battleship, which Hades was expecting, he infuriated Hades by making a single remote and an electronic game. So in order to play it, you're constantly passing back and forth, and you have to play the game by the color of the LEDs on the field. But since this was put together at the last minute because Hades was very demanding, it's literally built out of cardboard and soldering hundreds of LEDs to the point where we couldn't get more LEDs. We tried. So, without any further ado, the way the game also starts up, being from Disney, is we have an overly complicated startup procedure that involves pressing lots of buttons and going different places. Unfortunately, Kronk didn't have time to get that done in the window, but that will be coming by Maker Faire, because Hades has made him go back and spend some more time. So you just placed Ursula, and you placed the Star Destroyer right next to Ursula, and now you're doing the Jolly Roger. And then the last one, do you know what that is?
We know now. It's Kronk's vehicle.
Yep.
Alright, so we're Team Camelot, and this is Paddle Wars Domination. We kind of posted a video on Friday. It was kind of a joke. That our plan was a thumb dancing to Commander Keen. But turns out there's a Pong minigame inside of Commander Keen 4. So we have built it. So it's a standard Pong game, but there's solenoids on each side for the paddles. So you prime your paddle and then you let go and then it smacks the ball. Scoring is done with the ultrasonic sensors that were in the kit. All of the materials are kind of reclaimed from the lab, except for with the exception of like some acrylic and some wood. But like this is actually insulation, foam insulation. This is political signs have been cut up and turned into a bin.
Fitting usage.
So for those people who don't know what an ultrasonic sensor is.
So it's a distance sensor that uses sound. So it's putting out ultrasonic sound and then sensing it bouncing back.
Think
so,
sonar.
Sonar dolphins.
Good job.
Hey. So there's a little bit of a skill to getting it as it
So when
stops
you
the motion.
first did it, it's launching across the room.
Yeah.
If you catch it just right, it'll launch it.
So we're Team Regis. I'm Ben Regis. This is Sarah.
Sarah. I'm Carolee. I'm Annie.
Alright, so the instructions said to think of the best games you've ever played in your life, and we all looked at each other and said, Simon, at the same time. So no, we were going to do something else and kind of change gears to simplify so we could actually finish something. So we ended up making sort of a clone of the game Simon. So you'll see the LED strip flash. Well, when you do it wrong, you get this little red womp womp.
That's when you mess it up.
Yeah. And then it flashes a sequence and you press the buttons in the right order. And as you go, it makes you match more colors. The colors flash faster. It gets kind of harder as you go. We incorporated a lot of stuff in the design. You want to talk about the design?
Yeah, well, I started out with kind of a roller skating rink theme, and I guess it just sort of morphed into fun neon things. We had the blue light from an old aquarium that we put in, and the kids helped make their own paintings and artwork. And I made this. They're watching you. Lego audience.
I was training for the competition.
He's been training his whole life.
Well, first off, who came up with the concept?
Team effort.
Team effort. We had like a list of like 20 things. And
We like all these things.
Okay.
Yeah, we were going to originally do like a finger twister thing, like a small scale version of twister. We had to hold down buttons. Then we needed like 16 buttons. And I didn't think we were going to finish that in time.
And who did the majority of the art? I know you said the kids added to the art, but who did the majority of the art?
We did all of that together. So this is so they each did one of these panels.
Okay.
And they worked together on the panel. The big panel back, there's a panel on the side. I did the stencil one and the one in the back.
And who's in the audience? I see they're Lego people, but who specifically? Which Lego characters?
I have a lot. Is that Alfred?
Is that Alfred on the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stormtrooper.
This is Hurricane Cartageddon. It is just as difficult to play as it is to pronounce. It's based on something most Floridians have been through, going to the store and getting everything on your hurricane preparation list. So you can pick from one of three characters. We have Carefree Casey, Bunker Barbara, and Frantic Frank. They all have at least one specific item they need to go get, and then you have to pick two more items at random. And you can play in two game modes, either the fastest to do it, or the more challenging one is going to be to do it in as few moves as possible. And the way this works is you actually pre-program the cart. to move. If anybody's ever played with one of those like 6-wheeled, there's an old game where you actually have to type in all the numbers on how far it moves. It's kind of based on that. Or a game called Robo Rally, if anybody's played that before. So I will give it a shot here. I'm going to move forward a few, left, forward, right, right. And then you hit go and hope for the best. And it is definitely meant to be destructive. So
Exactly how I shop that.
exactly, yeah. If anybody's been to Walmart, you're familiar with this process. There you go. Good job.
So, tell us about Frantic Frank.
He waited forever to prep for the storm. Waiting last minute, he stays true to form, stressing and rushing to go to the store, armed with a list, not knowing what for. Fighting for gas to get what he could. Now he should probably go buy some wood. Make sure you go to the house station to fight off the mob for the last piece of wood and grab 2 other supplies along the way.
Oh boy.
And chaos ensues. So one thing people tend to make a mistake of is the forward is always going to be forward for the robot, right? So if I go forward, left, and then forward, it's going to go forward, left, and then straight again.
Gotcha.
So you notice everything on this has a face, right? All the items have faces, but the obstacles have mean faces. Because they're the bad guys, I guess, in this case.
Even the dog's angry.
Yep.
Yeah. Just why is he so angry about peeing on the floor?
So we're Team Maker Effects, number 1 of 2 teams at Maker Effects that competed during this thing. Our team is composed of Harry, Aaron, Steven, Curtis, and Jamie. And each of us have our own disciplines in every area that you see that thing was created in. Coding, woodworking, arts and crafts. You know, it's all there. And it was a great team effort to put this thing together. The main idea behind our game is, it's kind of like Mousetrap, but it's already built for you. But the idea is you have to get to Robot Ruckus with your Makey on his own little combat robot. So you have to go through all sorts of different perils and hammers and stuff like that to get there. We used a lot of sensors to activate all the traps, as well as magnets and glue. But you can see there, you push them in there, door starts and get through there. But we use relays, tricky things. A lot of Arduino programming went into it. Jamie and Curtis really led the charge on getting the code running and reliable. Steve was great with CAD and designing. Everything you see here, we either designed it ourselves and made it at the space, or it was purchased from Skycraft or came in the kit. But yeah, the whole idea is to get your Makey through the maze and through the perils to get to the Robot Ruckus Arena. And once you make it, woo, everything stops. Congratulations, and then it resets. We originally had like a screw drive, but it just wasn't fast enough because we were using threaded rod. So we went to like this modified version of a Etch-a-Sketch. And it's working great, but we should have waxed the rails before we put it in. Because if you go to the outer edges, it just has just enough drag to... And it's a little squirrely sometimes.
That's a feature.
It's a feature, not a bug. This is the first time I've actually played it, so...
Legendary.
And if you think you can cheat, nope, can't go around, there's a hammer in the way. So yeah, once you get over to this corner, you gotta get the purple robot into the corner.
You're fast!
Take that, me. Or, no, wait, what's the bad guy's name?
I don't know, bad guy.
Take that, bad guy. Uh-oh, uh-oh.
We added some extra friction there to make it a little more challenging.
Yep. Okay.
Get a little push to the finish line.
I got cocky at the beginning. Now I thought it was going to go so fast. Now.
This is a test of patience.
Yeah!
That's the first one to do 2 hands.
I've never seen that.
Yeah! Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah! We're just kind of showing right now what it would be like, but we want to have a 4-player multiplayer. They're all tank based, so it's pretty much, move forward, move back, and we had Nathan on programming, so he was on the Arduino, and he's the one that was probably the most frustrated because he was having to go through tons of trial and error and hardware swaps.
Sarah was doing all the social media. Also did a lot of the painting, assembly, really keeping us on track so that everyone kind of knew what the project was going on. Sebastian worked on assembly. I worked on assembly. We did as much laser cutting as possible. And like I said, this is like 25% of what we had. We had LED lights and arrays and indicators using the addressable RGB so that you could see if you were active or inactive.
Zero turn radius, lawnmower.
Wow, nice.
This is Straight Bassin's entry. It's based on the game Lunar Lander, which is kind of hard to see on the screen, but it was an old Atari game, I believe.
I think so. I think it was
it was an Atari game.
Arcade.
And it was, you have simple controls. It's left, right, and jet up, and the gravity would pull you down, and you would just angle to land properly. So it was like, that was cool. Let's put it in 3D. So this is Lunar Lander 3D, where you have to land on the pedestals, like they will light up individually, and you would have to land the spaceship on the pedestals. So we had a lot of expertise go into this. We have John and Neil coding, and then we had Phil on design and CAD, and then I was also helping design and CAD.
We have this shuttle here that we're trying to land on these pedestals. We might start up here, or we might start on the lander, what have you. So the concept is, in multiplayer mode, you have 3 people, each on one of these sides, with their finger on the button. So this team has to get together and say if they want to move vertically up, all 3 people would have to press the button at the same time. If they didn't, is say if only I press the button, then what would happen is the shuttle would start going off this way, and then the other team would have to correct, and eventually through a cooperative environment, they would eventually figure out, hopefully, how to control the shuttle and neatly land it on on a new landing pad. The motors are still active, so there's some resistance built up in them. But that is the concept, and for any of you...
Yeah, there's also single player mode.
Oh, yes, in single player mode.
So it's basically the game board, but you can hold it and control each motor individually by yourself.
And we also implemented the concept of fuel, etc. You run out of fuel by using too much thrusters, etc.
It's very unforgiving.
So using our fancy math equation, so your runner-up is going to get $200, and the winner will get $400, and that was on a scale based off of the goals that we met. So off of that $3,400, is that where we ended up? Okay. Anything else we want to talk about before we? Huh? Oh, go to the next slide down. Yeah. So also special thanks to Melrose Center for hosting us. Great facility. Secondly, there's a winner will also get
a broken trophy.
There's another $100 of gift cards to Skycraft for the winners. So Skycraft stepped up, of course, as you know. So let's get on with it then, right? So second place, first runner-up, or whatever runner-up would be.
Oh, okay.
Missed it by that much. Was Familab with Pump. Congratulations. Do you want us to stay up here? It's just a webcast. I mean, it's more than a webcast. It's everything.
It's Facebook Live.
And then the winner, and it's
winner of the spinning trophy.
You worked all night doing
that. Was this was a long night building this stuff, guys. I don't think you've ever put that much work in it.
We had to wait in queue for the laser cutter for like 3 hours.
And the winner is Maker Effects.
Now we can sleep.
Don't forget that.
Yay, Skycraft.